The scope of the Koch brothers' influence on the grassroots Tea Party movement has been well documented. The billionaires, through Americans for Prosperity, stir up populist anger against big government, which is getting in the way of big business like Koch Industries. But what has never been clear before today is the influence the Koch brothers have on other big businesses and the country's conservative infrastructure. In our fourth story, the New York Times now revealing the tentacles of the Kochtopus reach farther than we've previously known. The Times has obtained this invitation to a Koch Industries-sponsored secret conservative retreat. The cover letter, signed by Charles Koch, describes a two-day event to be held in Palm Springs. The event is titled Understanding and Addressing Threats to American Free Enterprise and Prosperity. The goal of the Palm Springs getaway is to, quote, develop strategies to counter the most severe threats facing our free society and to review strategies for combating the multitude of public policies that threaten to destroy America as we know it. Policies like California's landmark global warming legislation, America's for Prosperity, and Koch Industries leading the charge to repeal the law on a ballot initiative next month. According to the Times, Koch's invitation warns of unrelenting attacks on freedom and prosperity. Koch defining freedom as freedom from taxes and government regulation. Government regulators have fined Koch Industries and its subsidiaries tens of millions for oil spills and pollution over the years. They found that an explosion which killed 2 men in 1996 was caused by, quote, the failure of Koch to adequately protect its pipeline from corrosion. If you're interested in heading out to Palm Springs, according to the invite, admission costs $1,500, though if you're a first-timer, they will waive that. The first Koch party is free. To whet a prospective attendance appetite, the Kochs have included in their sales packet the agenda from their June soiree in Aspen. Think Progress compiled the list of Aspen attendees. Among the oil men and health industry bigwigs and hedge fund executives was the billionaire and so-called small business owner Steve Bechtel, the entertainment magnate and billionaire small business owner Philip Anschutz, David Chavern, the number 2 at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, who led a discussion on judicial elections. Glenn Beck of Fox News was there to ask, is America on the road to serfdom? In his Koch retreat appearance. I'm wondering if the Koch people were in favor of that. Beck apparently learned so much at the getaway, he went on the air the next day and name-dropped.
This is the world per capita GDP. I want to thank Charles Koch for this information.
I met a famous rich person. The Kochs go on to brag in their invitation about the cavalcade of conservative all-stars they have hosted in retreats past. Their list includes Governors Haley Barbour and Bobby Jindal, Senators Jim DeMint and Tom Coburn, Representatives Mike Pence, Tom Price, and Paul Ryan, and Justices Antonin Scalia and Clarence Thomas of the United States Supreme Court. Not among them, Rolling Stone's Matt Taibbi, who joins us now, of course, contributing editor for the magazine and author of the new book, Griftopia. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Keith.
What the hell are these things? Are these businessmen's orgies or what?
I don't know. It's really weird. When I was doing my story in the Tea Party, all we really knew at that time is that the Koch brothers were supporting the Tea Parties, but this vastly expands the story because it involves all these people from the financial services industry, these hedge fund guys like Stevie Schwartzman, the Bechtel, the Amway, Home Depot, plus Fox News and all these think tanks. So it's much more organized than we previously thought, and it does read like a conspiracy theory, you know, straight out of a you know, a Hollywood film.
Yeah, or the Simpsons episodes where they had all the evil leaders meeting in the castle, and it was
right.
You know, Dracula and Count Chocula,
Dr. Evil,
Dr.
right.
Ian and Mr. Burns and the Arnold Schwarzenegger character. Unfortunately, this is not a cartoon with a laugh track to it.
No, it's all real.
The Koch literature says, let me quote this example, make the new case for liberty and smaller government that appeals to all Americans, rich and poor. Is there an implication there that they're somehow helping the poor or helping to create more poor? Well,
no, I think that for them, we have to make an argument for people who are rich and poor, and I think that's what this is all about. I mean, everybody knows that these people have had the same agenda of reducing regulation and taxes forever. But what's new and what's different is that they're finding this way to connect with ordinary Americans through this Tea Party, and they're organizing. They're finding a way to transmit this message to everybody, and they're becoming very, very effective at it.
And by transferring it also via Fox News. I mean, this is the one aspect that obviously fascinate me as much as anything else in here. The Koch brothers, Chamber of Commerce, all the people that you mentioned, all the people I mentioned, and there's Glenn Beck, and the next day he's on the air spewing out the stuff that he has been handed. So this is now the scene from Network with Ned Beatty telling the Howard Beale character, you will atone for having meddled with the primal forces of nature. I mean, it really is. Let's just find a sap with a TV show and let him spew this, right? I mean, he basically becomes the spokesman for this argument that this is what America is really about for everybody who makes $32 million or more a year.
Right. It's really amazing. I mean, it's like the unified field theory of right-wing propaganda. It's all of this brought together, and the fact that Glenn Beck is sitting right in the middle of all this stuff is, as someone in the media, it's a role that is previously unimagined for a media figure to be in the middle of all of this and occupying such an important part.
Well, perhaps in fiction, it's not been unimagined. In fact, it's been unimagined. Unfortunately, it's coming to fruit now. Maybe the most disturbing part of this, and it's not beat up Clarence Thomas Day, although perhaps every day should be beat up Clarence Thomas Day. Do you have any problem with the justices of the Supreme Court showing up in the middle of this hoo-ha?
Well, it's funny. I talked to a bunch of law professors today about the ethics of this, and everybody agrees that judges just historically don't do this. There's no prescription against them being involved in political causes. They're human beings. They're flesh and blood. They're allowed to have opinions, but just sort of out of respect for everybody else, they kind of pretend that they're impartial. And for Scalia and Thomas to kind of openly go around with these people is a bit of it's thumbing their nose at everybody in a way. It's different for Supreme Court justice.
Obviously, this didn't happen concurrently, but it happens concurrently with Alito's statement that he won't, and several other justices won't go to the State of the Union address because it's become too politicized. Well, that looks like a recitation of the phone book compared to this. This is a high finance as it could be cabal.
Right. And the other thing about this is that for a Supreme Court justice, if there is a question about a judge's impartiality, where do you go? Where do you go to get that guy removed or get him to recuse himself from a case? There is nowhere to go. So it raises all kinds of troubling questions. It's true.
Ask him for a recusal. His wife will ask you for an apology.
Right.
Matt Taibbi, the contributing editor at Rolling Stone, thanks again for being good enough to come in.
Thank you.